Welcome back to Pitchworthy. Every founder thinks they have a visibility problem. Most do not. They have a recognition problem. This season, I'm putting founders in the hot seat to uncover the gap between the reputation they want and the one the market is actually creating for them, because those are rarely the same story. Today's recognition signal is the companies that create categories don't simply sell something new, they change what people expect. Let's dive in. Annie Graybill, welcome to Pitchworthy.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor
Thanks
to
for
be
being
here.
here. Tell us, before we get started, tell everyone watching and listening a little bit about you and what you do.
My name is Annie. I am the founder of Havenwith. It is a marketplace for fragrance-free, non-toxic vacation rentals.
Amazing, amazing. If someone asked you on an airplane, so what exactly is Havenwith? What would you tell them?
I typically, of course, what everyone knows is Airbnb. So I will give them something, a reference point, something that they know, and then say it's the same thing, except for only fragrance-free, non-toxic properties.
Okay, perfect. So it's the actual property that's fragrance free. It's not something you sell into properties that's non toxic. It's the actual home. So, like when I was in Austin a couple weeks ago and I was in a house and it smelled like mold, that was not going to be something that you're putting out.
Exactly, exactly, and catering to those people that, have had mold illness or autoimmune disease or things that they've dealt with in the past, and then when they're traveling, the expectation is they wanna walk into a place and it doesn't have plugins, it doesn't have candles, and it doesn't have all of these things that kind of trigger, the issues that they've had.
Right, right. So, like people who are sensitive to like perfumes might want to stay at the St. Regis, but you're getting the St. Regis smell everywhere. And if you're sensitive to something, that is not going to fly with you.
Exactly, exactly.
Perfect, perfect. So, when you're explaining what you do to people on a plane or in networking, what answer makes them stay? Like, is you just you explaining, "Oh, it's non-toxic homes." What would that answer that you give them in the quick introduction, would that be what makes someone book a stay?
It depends on the type of lifestyle that they live. I definitely think this is a niche market. It's a growing category, but typically, I do always find that if they don't necessarily lead this low toxic lifestyle, they know someone that does, or they know someone that has allergies or issues or autoimmune or something that it kind of says in them, "Oh, that would be really good for so and so." If it's not they themselves that it would be a good fit for.
So, when you're doing your introductions on the plane, on the train, wherever you are, do you feel like your one sentence description on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being fantastically, do you think that that easily and simply explains what your business does?
Not always. I think that there's still some questions around it, especially someone that has no idea what it means to be fragrance free or non toxic. It definitely brings up some questions for them. And then also, a lot of times they might think that I own these properties or that. Like you had said that they just I don't even know what else they might think it is, but it isn't always cut and dry.
Perfect, perfect. So a little bit about non-toxic, fragrance-free, and the vacation rentals. Helping people find them, is that actually the problem that they seek you out for? Or is that simply what the bigger problem looks like?
It's the problem that they're seeking me out for because I know from my own personal experience, spending hours and hours doing research and trying to find a property that fits my family's needs. And a lot of times then I have to go and message the host, what are you using? It might look beautiful in the photos, right? But
Right.
I don't know what it smells like from the photos. And so then I have to reach out and say, what products are you using? Do you use fragrance? All these other questions. So it's just this time-consuming thing when all you wanna do is book a trip and
Right.
and go hang out with your family, right? So it's a time-consuming thing, so I'm trying to give that time back to people and fully vet everything up front, so then they know they can trust the property, they can book it without any worry.
Can you, for the people who don't have to seek out fragrance free, can you explain to in layman's terms, like why does someone care whether a rental is fragrance free?
So, synthetic fragrance is one thing, so synthetic fragrance is anything that's labeled fragrance on an ingredient label. And that can be up to 3,500 different chemicals. It's exactly as it sounds. It's synthetic fragrance. It's not naturally occurring. It's something that's built in the lab. Once you eliminate fragrance from your life, it will just smell like straight chemicals. It, like, no longer smells good. I grew up in the smelly lotion phase as a teenager.
Bath and Body Works
Right?
forever.
Yep.
Yep.
Everyone had their scent and you go to the mall, you could smell the store before you even got there, right? And so fragrance is something that we've really kind of has just overtaken our lives. And then it's in garbage bags. And so for a lot of people, because these are toxins, some of those we don't know what it is. It's just fragrance on the label. And it could be a number of different things. Some of those are known endocrine disruptors, known carcinogens. And so we just want to avoid those things because it can lead to, it depends on the person, but it's inflammation in the body that can cause a number of issues, skin related problems, gut related issues. And so those people have identified that it's an issue for them. And this is just one piece of the puzzle, toxins in general. I think we always think in our head, we're so conditioned that we need to disinfect everything and we need to have these really strong chemicals in order for things to be clean. And that's actually not the case. Our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, they were using vinegar and baking soda to clean things, and it works perfectly fine, right? So the smell, maybe not so great, but there are so many products now available on the market that clean really, really well and don't have these toxins in them. And so when we're in our homes, most of our life, we're spending a lot of time, especially if you work from home, you work remote, you're spending a lot of time in your home, you're sleeping in your home. Indoor air quality is 2 to 5 times worse than outdoor air quality. And part of the reason is because of these things in our home. So
What happened to people before they found you? Or what is the driving force for people searching you out? Can you tell me a little bit more about that person? I know we talked about inflammation and sometimes it's skin. I have friends that get just terrible, debilitating headaches.
mhm.
Tell me more about the people that you serve.
A lot of those people have given up on traveling. So they aren't necessarily traveling because it takes such a toll on their body. I think some of that can be kind of nervous system regulation too. When our comfort zone is our home, so then when we leave it, we're on edge already a bit there. So some of those people, they aren't necessarily traveling, and they've reached out and said, "Thank you so much. Like, I haven't traveled because I can't find a clean place to stay." Or it's people like myself, as we travel a lot. Our family is on the East Coast and we live in a small town, so travel is really important to us, and we still travel, but it takes a toll on us. It can be, you're trying to have this relaxing, reinvigorating time with your friends and family, and then sometimes it can just be so exhausting. Not only because not because you're doing so much, but because also where you're staying and where you're sleeping is just not a healthy environment.
Right, right. As someone who travels 3 weeks out of almost every month, I can't imagine a life without travel. But I also, when you think of like people's bucket lists and like goals and hopes and dreams, travel and seeing the world is always like top of that list. So it was so sad to hear you say they just
Mhm.
have given up on travel. I don't want anyone to give up on travel. That
I
sounds
know. I
horrible.
agree. I agree.
You wrote something in your intake form that I highlighted. You said fragrance free and non toxic are the future of travel. That is a very big, bold statement. What makes you believe that?
People are seeing more and more. I'd say to people, even sometimes, you don't know how good you can feel, because a lot of people will say to me, "But I'm fine. I don't need to." And then they start to make these changes and they realize, wow, I didn't realize I was having this afternoon slump. I just thought that was me. That was part of life. Or I was just having this brain fog. I didn't even realize it. And I started to make these changes. And all of a sudden, I have more energy. Especially for me, I think my entire life, I probably dealt with some autoimmune issues that were undiagnosed. And it wasn't until I started making changes I realized, wait, I'm not someone that needs a nap. Like, I remember my mom always taking naps all of the time.
Yep.
And I always thought, "Oh, yeah, that's just me, I need a nap too, like, I just get tired." That's not the case. I actually am a terrible napper. I have a really hard time napping, but I just didn't know because the life I was living, I thought, "Oh, I was an athlete growing up. I played soccer in college. How could I possibly be someone with low energy?" But I just didn't know until I knew, right?
Hmm.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Why do you think the rest of the travel industry hasn't caught up yet?
I think one thing is that smell is such a strong sense. It takes us to a place. And so we're really seeing a lot of signature fragrances and different things like that because they want it to be an experience and smell is part of that experience. And so I think we're seeing that more and more, and then we're starting to see the pushback against it.
Mhm.
I'll be curious to see what does happen. I do think people are becoming a lot more aware of toxins, not only in our home and our food. And as that continues to develop, I think people will start to push back on these things.
How did you come up with the name?
I actually had the name before I had the idea. So I worked in product, I worked in the outdoor industry for a long time, and then I worked in home. I worked at Avocado Green Mattress, and working in product, I'm that friend that everyone goes to, "Hey, I'm looking for a baby carrier. Which one do you recommend?" Or I love product. I always thought I would do something that was a physical product. I had many ideas over the years, and so I started to think of what would be a good name for whatever home goods maybe I was eventually going to launch.
Mhm.
And I started ideating on names, and somehow I came to Havenwith, and I kept coming back to it, and it stuck. And then I think it's fascinating how that was such a good fit then for this a couple of months later down the road when I think about it, because what we're seeking on when we're traveling is someplace that's safe, which is a
Yep.
haven. And then when we travel, what we want is this connection with either our friends and our family, or if you're traveling solo, you're looking for connection with yourself. So it just was one of those things that fascinating. It ended up working and fitting out. Maybe it was a bit of manifestation there. I'm not quite sure.
Perfect, perfect. You brought something up in that. So when someone books through Havenwith, what are they actually buying? Is it the house, the vacation? Is it peace of mind? Is it health or safety? Is it confidence knowing they're going to actually get to have a vacation without suffering from something? What are they really buying from your company?
It's the trust and confidence that they can book something and not have to worry. So everything I asked my host to be very transparent with everything up front. So we're talking exactly what cleaning supplies they're using, the brand, the actual product that they're using. Then the guest can look and say, okay, I know that works for me, or maybe it doesn't work for them for some reason. And they can make that choice feeling really confident that when they walk into that property, they don't have to worry about anything. They know it's gonna be, because again, like, you can't smell things in
Right.
photos, right?
You can't. You can't. So now we have to worry about not only trusting the photos, now I have to worry about trusting the smell. It's a whole new world has been unlocked for me, Annie. Okay. I see right now underneath you your title. I saw in your intake form. I see it on your website. Can I challenge you on something a little bit?
Mhm. Of course.
I don't think you're building a vacation rental marketplace. I think it's just the vehicle. Like, what business do you actually feel like you're in?
I do feel like I'm in education to some extent, because there is a lot of education that comes along with this. You know, a host might come to me, which has happened, and they're using a certain product and they don't know. And it's just because it's so difficult in the market to find the products that with all of the greenwashing out there. Like you just look at a product, all of the marketing terms on it, and you think, yeah, of course, this product is safe. And then you realize, oh, actually, it isn't. So there's a lot of education to it. Um,
Yep.
I think that's definitely part of it. I've worked in the home and like detoxifying home for so long that I think that's where my knowledge base is. And I'm an IVF mom. I know, some of these toxins in our lives is is fueling infertility. And so that's the piece that I'm really, really passionate about. Of course, I'm very passionate about travel too. And like you, I think it's sad that people aren't necessarily getting out and going and traveling. And I think it's something that's really, really important as a society, even to go experience other cultures, experience
Yeah.
different places. It's so important.
Yeah, it's a huge horizon expander, right? If you're
Mhm.
I think if a body in motion is what fuels your emotion, and I just can't imagine just being stuck in the same spot all the time. Not like I'm a homebody, like I like being at home, but I just can't imagine if it was my only option.
Mhm.
Um, while we've been going back and forth, I keep hearing some of the same words: health, travel, fragrance, toxins, rest, peace. They don't all feel like separate ideas to me. They feel like they're all pointing towards something much bigger that like dovetails. What do you think the bigger idea could be?
I think it's that you don't have to leave your lifestyle at home when you travel. So I kind of come back to this like travel clean or clean travel sometimes. And I think that's the biggest thing is on top of that, I also, again, going back to people not traveling, it breaks my heart because I think some of that is there's this fear.
Mhm.
Of course, for many people, they've lived through something. So they've lived through mold illness or
Yeah.
remediation on their home,
Oh,
which is huge. It's
yeah.
huge. That's a lot to go through. So
Yep.
then I think there's this missing piece that mentally they're still dealing with it, even though maybe their body has healed, they're mentally still dealing with this other piece of it. And I'm hoping that we can get those people where they feel safe to travel again. And some of that is, nervous system regulation and paying attention to that and realizing that you've been through something and maybe your body has healed, but your brain, still maybe is lagging behind a bit.
Right, right. If Havenwith disappeared tomorrow, what would the world lose? Not your listing and not your website. What movement would lose momentum if Havenwith just stopped?
I see this is what I've been most shocked about in building this is I think a lot of founders say this where they have complete strangers cheering them on. And for me, this is a really unique community that it's not necessarily my friends and my family, they don't necessarily understand this lifestyle, but I'm
Mhm.
finding complete strangers where they don't look at me and think, "Oh, you're crazy. You travel with an air filter or whatever." It's like we have this common bond and you can't necessarily find that anywhere else. So I think that community that is starting to build where it's other like-minded people that really just you don't have to explain it to them. They understand. And you can't necessarily always find that in your friends and your family. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing to me is just this community of like-minded people in this market that really just understand each other and there doesn't have to be an explanation for why you're bringing your own sheets to a property.
Oh, right. But now I only want to bring my own sheets to a property. Okay, tell me your thoughts on this. I don't think your recognition gap is that people don't understand Havenwith. I think they understand exactly what it is. I think what they don't immediately understand is what you're trying to change. I feel like you're introducing an entirely new marketplace. But I mean, I think you're actually creating new expectations that travel shouldn't require compromising your health, that clean air, clean laundry, cleaning products, and a nervous system that can actually relax aren't luxury features. It shouldn't cost more to have a room switched out or something different or be in a non toxic end of stuff. That should be standard. Does that sound like something you could champion?
Yeah, I totally agree. And it goes even further beyond that because then you go and you start thinking about the cleaners that are cleaning these properties. I've seen something that cleaning products are almost when you're constantly inhaling that, it's almost the same as effect of smoking. And so you think about when someone that's their career,
Yeah.
their health then is being compromised by it. So I would definitely agree.
Do you think you're competing with Airbnb? Or are you competing with the belief that people should simply not tolerate getting headaches, breathing in synthetic fragrances, and sleeping in chemically treated spaces when they travel?
I don't think I'm competing with Airbnb. I think it's, at this point, too niche of a market for them. I think, obviously their bigger, broader audience is just kind of people that aren't necessarily aware. And so I would agree it's more challenging that that's not the way things should be done. That we can make choices that are not only better for our health. Then I always go back to, I live in the mountains, I live in a ski town, and
Mhm.
everyone here cares about the environment, right? They
Yep.
love the environment. But I don't think sustainability is enough. Like, typically we say sustainability, sustainability. But when we're using toxic products in our home, those toxic products are toxic when they're produced, then they're toxic when they're used, and then they're toxic when they're thrown away.
Yep. Yeah.
And so that to me is a bit of a better, even for the environment, not our own personal health, but also for the environment.
Okay, hearing you say that, this is a big one. I don't think Havenwith is a vacation rental company at all. I don't. I think that might be the vehicle, but I think you're trying to create the organic food movement for travel. I think 20 years ago, most people didn't ask where their food came from. Today, we all do and we all care, right? And I think you believe we're heading the same way towards travel and that one day people won't ask, oh, is that a nice property? They'll care more about, is it healthy to stay there? I think your marketplace just happens to be how you accelerate that shift because, like you said, you're not trying to compete with Airbnb. You're not trying to build a better Airbnb. You're trying to change what people expect from every single place they stay. So if I had to do a recognition gap analysis on you right now, based on just what we've talked about, I think your current perception is Havenwith helps people find non toxic, fragrance free vacation rentals. And I think the desired perception, from what I'm hearing you saying, is that Havenwith is leading the movement to redefine what healthy travel should be. I think the issue between current perception and your desired perception is that you're introducing the marketplace before you're introducing the movement part. And so, if there's anything you take from this call, I
Mhm.
hope you remember this the next thing, okay? Let me make sure I get it right. You're marketing where people stay instead of what people should expect. And to me, I think that's what's holding you back from getting where you want to be. Like you're letting the rentals be the vehicle when it should be people's expectations and how they would feel. Am I way off base?
No, I think that is so impactful. And it's interesting because when I first started this, I was working full time. And so I thought, oh, I'm just building this little list.
Right.
So I wasn't thinking big picture. I'm also a middle child. I think sometimes a birth order comes into play sometimes where
Yeah,
not
yeah.
not that I'm thinking small because I do have these big dreams, but sometimes I do think I get, because of that and my human design, I get a little pigeonholed into thinking it's this. So, I mean, that's huge. I think that's a something so much more impactful, and I just, in my mind, that made my heart flutter,
Oh,
honestly.
good. Yay. That makes me so happy because sometimes I'm like, do I dare say this out loud? And then I'm me. So I say it out loud. And sometimes they're like, yes. And sometimes they're like, no. So I'm glad you were receptive to it. I think baby steps, because everything's baby steps, right? For the next 30 days, stop introducing Havenwith as a vacation rental marketplace. Instead, start with something like, we've accepted things in travel that we'd never accept in our own home. I think it's time to change that. Like on your social media, on your website, literally anywhere you have a bio. It could be on the footer of your email. Honestly, it would make a great pitch right now as people are trying to do all their traveling before people go back to school, especially given now with air quality and people afraid to eat lettuce and just all of the things. I think
Mhm.
it would be really impactful. We've accepted things in travel that we'd never accept in our own homes. I think it's time to change that. I feel like I know 14 editors that would be interested in that, like right now. I feel like then explain what Havenwith
Mhm.
is, not the other way around, not vacation rental, then that, the why, then the vehicle.
This is why you do what you do. Honestly, that is just so brilliant and makes so much sense.
And
It really does.
it really is just a subtle shift. Like
Yeah.
you probably
Yeah.
have the language on the website. You probably are have the social posts to do it. It's just switching one before the other.
Mhm. Yeah.
We feel like we have to give people the vehicle there before the why, but we have to lead with the why first.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
after today, what's one thing you're going to stop doing?
I definitely just talking more about our expectations and demanding more. And I've thought about this a little bit because I do get pushback. I'm onboarding hosts. Obviously, I'm a marketplace. I have the audience of hosts, I have the audience of guests. And this is the first time I've always worked for D2C e-commerce. So it's the first time for me working in a marketplace space. I'm learning a lot as I go. And I always, when a host comes back and says no for whatever reason, I always feel this little, okay, thanks. And then I have to always give a little, well, if you ever change your mind, if you're personally cleaning this, or
Mhm.
it's better for, and I always have to leave some kind of little tidbit for someone to sit with
Yep.
because it's just so important to me. It's so important to me.
Mhm.
Um, Going through IVF, sitting in that waiting room, you look around and there are so many women in there, all different ages, all different
Yep.
ethnicities. It affects anyone and everyone. And really, the women are the ones that are the bearers that have to then deal with it when it's
Mhm.
not just our problem. Male
Yep.
infertility is also rampant, and that's 50% of it. And so it's so important to me.
Yep. And I think part of it too is if you're leading a new category like I think that you are, the education like you mentioned is so important. And I think that helps especially with your the world you're breaking into, trying to break into. Thank goodness that organic food has already started it, but all the symbols that you see, you
Mhm.
people have been trained to look for the symbols. I think it would be good for you on your website with case studies and social media, have symbols. Show them. Have a handout. Have when you can anticipate the reasons why people say no to you, start keeping track to those 10 or those 12. Have the ways like, "Oh, but this, but did you know if you're cleaning it, then you're more likely to have this, and here's the stats and figures for that," and those sorts of rebuttals, I think would be what I honestly think it would be amazing media coverage, but I also think that it just would help when you're onboarding the hosts to
Mhm.
do it and to prove to people. I also think that case studies would be absolutely amazing for you because it would show you I feel like when we got on this call, I was like, "Oh, vacation rental company, cool. This will be interesting to learn about," right? But you have so much more than that. Yes, you can talk about the vacation rentals and a new way to do vacation rentals, but it's also the story of why, like we talked about. This is, what people are suffering from. And in those categories, it's also, hey, you have to think about if your home is like this, when you go anywhere else, if it's like X, Y, or Z, here's who it's impacting. There are I searched it the other day, 9,400 and maybe 38 we're over 9,000 infertility podcasts. You could be talking to them about like, "Hey, have you guys thought about that's a spin for you. That's a whole untapped market." I'm not saying go pursue it tomorrow,
Yeah.
but you have so much opportunity in front of you, and I think if you start leading with the why and let the vehicle be the backup, I think there's a very big blue ocean for you to conquer. I'm excited to hear all about it. Annie, thank you for trusting me with this conversation and for letting me paw around in your business. I know that it is a huge trust thing. I don't take it lightly. I know it's vulnerable to put yourself out there and let all these people listen while someone rips your baby to shreds. And I hope I wasn't too hard on you. But thank you for
It's
joining us. These recognition gap audits aren't about changing your mission. It's about showing other people what's possible and how just looking at something from a different perspective can hopefully change a business trajectory. So, before we go, please tell everyone and anyone where they can find, follow, and support you.
On Instagram, it is Havenwith Stay, and you can find us online at havenwith.com.
Amazing. If today's episode, listeners and viewers, made you wonder whether you're marketing your product instead of the movement behind it, that's exactly what we uncover together, me and you, in the Recognition Report and Roadmap. Learn more about it at hearsaypr.com. Until next time, the companies people remember don't just solve problems, they redefine what's normal. I'll see you next time on Pitchworthy.